Okay, so we're going to kind of be talking about the different kinds of art. It's basically the art and reality section of the book. And we're going to talk about how to describe and categorize different types of art or different, art. So basically the terms are representational, abstract, and then non-representational. And every piece of art should typically fit into those three categories. And they really are these types of categories kind of make comment on the artwork's relationship to the physical world. So representational art, it just depicts the appearance of things. So if I'm drawing this can, it'll just be a fairly representational image of the can. It'll just be a pretty straightforward image. When the human form is the primary subject, it's called figurative art. So that's a type of representational art. It falls under the category of representational art, but it has its own kind of special subcategory called figurative art when it's the human form. That is the primary subject of the piece. And subjects are basically what representational art depicts. So we'll take a look. Here's a piece by Renee Magritte. And it's called The Treachery of Images, done in 1929. It's oil on canvas, so oil paint on canvas, and we'll talk about this piece a little bit. So this piece is by the Belgian painter Renee Magritte. It's called The Treachery of Images, and it's kind of a commentary on the relationship between art and reality. The subject of the painting appears to be a pipe, and then written under the pipe are the words, "This is not a pipe," in French. And so as a viewer, you might wonder, well, if it's not a pipe, what is it? So think about what it is. It's actually a painting, right? And even the title, The Treachery of Images, relates and hints at the visual game that the artist is playing with this painting. So what do you think about this painting? Do you understand what the artist is trying to say? What do you think he's trying to say about the juxtaposition of a really hyper-realistic painting of a pipe sorry, next to text that says, "This is not a pipe"? There really is no wrong answer here. Personally, I feel like the artist is kind of messing with me. It's kind of a humorous piece as well. I think the artist is really trying to break down the relationship between art and reality. Do you believe what you see, or do you believe what you read? And there's kind of the struggle going on here between the realistic image of the pipe and the very matter-of-fact message below it saying, this is not a pipe. And I have a video that we can watch on this painting and on the artist in general that I thought was pretty interesting, and I will put that below this. Well, actually, maybe we'll just this video here.
A magician of enigmatic images. The stage is set for Renee Magritte. Dumb as a painter. Ever heard of that? This expression was supposedly pretty common in the late 19th century. It implies that poetry is above painting, words above images. Renee Magritte did not accept this hierarchy. For him, painting, poetry, and even philosophy were equal. A meticulous painting of a pipe. Below it, the sentence, "This is not a pipe." And of course that is correct, for what we see is not a pipe but a piece of painted canvas. The pipe in the picture can neither be filled nor smoked. Magritte repeatedly addressed the relationship between words, images, and objects. He created his first word-image paintings in 1927. After the poets and their words, Magritte turned his gaze to the philosophers. He engaged in discussions with important philosophers of his day and addressed fundamental philosophical questions. What is reality? What is illusion? Magritte believed that nobody knows what the world is really like. People have to rely on their imagination in order to visualize the world. We think we know what is behind the image within the image, but do we really? The deceptive nature of images, that is what the surrealist Magritte presents to us. Why deceptive? Well, if it is impossible for people to know reality, how are they to create images of it? Renee Magritte's motifs are highly symbolic, like the apple or the curtain. They allude to psychology, philosophy, or ancient myths. He repeatedly combines his motifs in new ways, puts them in different contexts. The result is his very own enigmatic cosmos.
Okay, so that was that video. Fairly interesting, honestly. So let's get back to where we were at here. Sorry. I have to refresh this. Okay, so we were down. So we're going to move on to abstract art now. So abstract art, so to abstract means to take form. It's actually a verb. And it really means to abstract the essence of an object or idea. So abstract works depict natural objects that are either simplified, distorted, and done. This is done in kind of an exaggerated way. So they do have a point of reference. They may not be obvious. They might be obvious, but it may actually be totally not obvious what object is actually being depicted, because it's been distorted or simplified or exaggerated in ways that you can't no longer recognize it, but it's still considered abstract art if it has a reference to a natural object. And this is common in a lot of cultures, and it can be super distorted or just a little bit distorted. I mean, there's different varying degrees of abstraction. So here's Theo Vandelsberg's Abstraction of a Cow series from 1917. This is a pretty good way of showing how abstraction works. And he wanted to see how far he could abstract a cow and still have the final image kind of symbolize the essence of the cow and still be able to capture the essence of the cow. So he used the subject of the cow as the jumping off point and ended up being this composition of basic squares with solid color. And if we only viewed the original painting, we would have no idea that this was supposed to be representing a cow. But it supposedly may, for some people, include the essence of a cow. So it's kind of interesting to see the progression here of, you know, this cow here. He's slowly adding in geometric shapes, slowly adding in some color, and finally coming to this process here. So that is abstract art. It does reference some sort of natural object in our world. Whether or not we can tell what it is another story. So non-representational art is not to be representational of anything. It doesn't reference anything in our natural world. So we will really experience non-representational art as being boiled down to really the basic building blocks of art, such as line, texture, color. That's going to be the predominant characteristics that we'll notice about non-representational art. There really is no subject, basically, with non-representational art. So this is Cameron Herrera, Yellow and Black from 2010, acrylic on canvas. It's a large piece. It's 36 inches tall by 72 inches wide. And this is done in 2010 by Cameron Herrera. The title is Yellow and Black. And it hints at a lightning bolt, but it really is just an experiment. It really is just two strong colors next to each other, the yellow and the black, and whatever emotion might come from that is up to you to interpret. But basically it's all about the color and some of the line. The nature of the line is such that it's diagonal. In diagonal lines, such as this here, every line on here is diagonal, except for the outside canvas, the straight lines of the canvas that contain it, but every line is diagonal, so it really creates a lot more of a dynamic piece, a little bit more sense of movement than a static line. So I do have a video on Cameron Herrera. I think I will post that in the content area, and then we'll just kind of go on to looking and seeing. So looking is habitual. We do it every day. We do it in order to kind of navigate our way through the world, and it's more mechanical and goal-oriented. Seeing is a much more focused version of looking. In seeing, we look with our memories, our imaginations, and our feelings attached. And hopefully by the end of this class, you can really get better at seeing art. So using your mind and your memories and all that stuff and attaching that to what you're actually looking at, so you can really see it. So one example of an artist who can really see into a subject, do any of you, ask yourself, what is this? What is this? When we look at this photograph by Edward Weston, who was a master at seeing, he was able to see something extraordinary in this photograph of a pepper. He used special techniques such as a timed exposure over 2 hours with his camera. That means he set his camera on a tripod and opened up the lens to the light slowly for over 2 hours to create kind of a special glow that only that technique could allow for. And he did some other things to help this photograph turn out the way it did. He used lighting very effectively, so he used a certain type of, the way he set up the lights really shows off the form of the pepper. And what does the form of this pepper remind you of? Answer, embracing figures. So the photo that Western created communicates a sense of wonder at the simple things around us. It also communicates and stimulates us to participate in the artist's prolonged act of seeing. So he really saw this pepper as basically two figures embracing. Seeing is a really deeply personal process. No two people see the same thing the same way, but each of us is different, right? So confronted with this image of a pepper, some of you might evaluate it differently. Some might simply see a pepper, while others might see it in a different way. You might want to look at this piece and say, how do I see this piece? And let's see how much time we have. Yep, I think we'll end this now.